Hello, today we're looking into the disappearance of Virginia Rambus, age 19. She vanished in her own apartment complex. It says here, things didn't seem out of the ordinary for Virginia Rambus, May 20th, 1985. She was at her Seattle, Washington apartment, 6800 block of South 123rd Street. That evening, getting ready for a party less than 10 minutes away from her home, she was last seen leaving her residence around 8 p.m. before making her way to a coworker's apartment that was in the same complex. Although she didn't have to go far, Virginia never made it to her destination. She's never been seen or heard from again. The 19-year-old reportedly didn't give any indication that she did not intend on returning home, and like many other stories of missing persons, the case of Virginia Rambus soon went cold. In the years that followed, police reported that several other women around her age went missing from the Seattle area, and authorities speculated that some of those cases were tied to a possible serial killer. Many of those missing women, however, were involved in prostitution, and because Virginia was not tied to sex work, it was believed that she wasn't a victim of the same perpetrator. As if this tale wasn't already shrouded in enough mysteries, authorities were able to tie a man named Jesse Pratt, also known as the Candyman, in his neighborhood to Virginia. He reportedly lived in her apartment complex and was well known to the teens in the area. In 1980, 5 years before Virginia went missing, Pratt was arrested for an assault against his ex-girlfriend. According to the reports, Pratt and an accomplice tied up the woman's co-workers, kidnapped her, and fled to Eugene, Oregon. About 5 hours away, it was there that she was able to make her escape. Pratt reportedly took a plea deal for 3 counts of assault with a deadly weapon and kidnapping. Although he was sentenced to 10 years, it's unclear exactly how much time he served before being released. Then in 1986, one year after Virginia Rambus vanished, Pratt was arrested for the murder of Seattle resident Carrie Love. For that crime, Pratt was sentenced to death. However, that was later commuted to life in prison. And then it's got where you can read about that case there. At the time of her disappearance, Virginia Rambus stood 5'2" tall and weighed 135 pounds. She had dark brown hair and brown eyes. Virginia often went by her middle name Anne. She was last seen wearing jeans, a white pullover sweater, and black cowboy boots. Her dental records and DNA are on file. So, yes. And, anyway, let's see. And here's some photos, 1985, Seattle, Washington. And look at his yellow car. There was a big white car that a young boy went missing in that they thought might be a Chevy. Was it a Monte Carlo? I wonder, but this could look white if somebody wasn't, especially, I don't, it was a young boy, but I wonder that, to me, it seems like they could have gotten them mixed up, but I don't know. It said Rambus had a history of marijuana and cocaine abuse. So it said she was last leaving her apartment. I wonder if that's true. I don't know. Maybe somebody will leave comments and let me know. She was en route to visit a coworker. She gives the address. They plan to go to the party. She's never been heard from again. She was employed as a stalker at Host International. In a few years, about a dozen women in their teens and 20s went missing from the area. Several of the prostitution. Then it talks about the Candyman who's serving time. And foul play is suspected, so you could pause that and read it if you want to. And then here's her NamUs case number, and her NamUs case, and the information that it says. 5'2", 135 pounds. So it pretty much says the same thing. And then here's some Jane Does. This one I thought looked pretty similar to her, with her ears and her facial shape and the shape of her eyebrows and where they end, and the shape of her eyes and her nose and her mouth and everything. And so I put her in there. She was only 5 foot tall though, so, and only weighed 113 pounds, but it's 1988 and she went missing in 85. But I just left it in there. She's all the way in Maryland, which is really far away, so it's probably not her, especially with a 2 inches height difference. And she weighs less, but there's a postmortem photo of her, so I guess she's 2 inches shorter. But I don't know. You know, some people do their height with their shoes, and some people do it without it. So I thought I would leave that in there. And then here's some in Oregon that could be almost anybody, so I thought I would leave those in there. And you can see their numbers on the Doe Network right there. So in case they took her to Oregon and there was a Jane Doe in Oregon that matched her, I don't know, because these, like I said, could be almost anybody. Because, well, this one's indentuous, so I don't think that would be her. Let's take that one out. And yeah, so they could be almost anybody, so I don't know. And this one could be almost anybody. So I thought maybe the Oregon ones, because, and this one, 1987, you know, if somebody was driving down to California, she didn't die till 1987, so, and she was 2 inches taller and weighed a lot less. So really don't think that could be her, but, and this one is 2 years younger, so I don't know. And she died in 1985. When did she go missing? May 1985, July 1980. Yeah, May, June, July. That would be the right date. That would be the right height. Except her hair is not really curly unless she straightens it with an iron. I don't know. Every day. So, but she would be 2 years younger. And I don't know what kind of shoes she was wearing when she went. Oh, she was wearing cowboy boots, so. And this girl is not wearing cowboy boots. I like those shoes though. And then there's this girl, 4'9" to 5'2". She's all the way in Florida. But we had Rodney Alcala. I don't know what years he was doing things, but he's going from California to, he killed people in California and Washington and Florida. So I don't know. Like I said, it's hard to find anybody that fits her description. So I thought, well, I'll go through some Jane Does and leave them in there. And I didn't go to where they found them years and years later to try to fit them where they fit the description. But see, this one weighs less, but she could be like any height, 5'2" to 5'9". I don't understand if it's months prior why they didn't measure her. And I don't think that one really looks like her, but I left it in because I was just trying to find somebody that fits her description and leave it in here so that you could see and you could say, oh, I think that one might be, or that one might be, you know. That way you have some kind of beginning if you're like a web sleuth and looking. And that way you can mark them off and say, oh, it's not this one, it's not this one, it's not this one, maybe it's this one. Process of elimination. But then you have to go through the ones that are they don't find for years and years and years to see, maybe. But I tried to start with the areas. And so, anyway, prayers for her loved ones and her family, because, you know, that's really sad if they never found her and they could never have a funeral and they passed away. You know, because then they don't have the closure at all. And that's really sad that she's in the safety of her own apartment complex. Her own apartment complex in the safety of the, you know, that's the safety of your home. And something like that happens. And there's so many serial killers that were out there then, you know. Just so many of them. I don't know what years they were, but let me see if I can. I have like a little list, and then there's some other ones. But we have the Green River Killer, we had Robert Lee Yates, we had Rodney Alcala. Then there's some of those other people too. There's, you know, a few other ones that aren't even listed that they say might have killed, you know, a few people that could end up being serial killers that they're not even on the list because they're unsure yet. But anyway, please feel free to leave comments. If you know anything, like you lived in the area and you know something, maybe you've known somebody since then that have been drinking and they've told you something, here's a phone number. Contact them, email them, let them know what you know. Don't just take it to your grave and not tell anybody. That way they have the information, you know. Even if you feel like, oh, it's hearsay, it's not important. Well, when you go to court, hearsay doesn't matter. But if you're giving them information that you're aware of, you know, people start drinking, sometimes they talk. So, you know, you can give them that information because that way they have those notes. And when somebody goes to close the case, maybe that'll be the missing piece to the puzzle. So thank you so much for tuning in and have a great day. Bye-bye.